Everybody, welcome back to Shark Week here at Staffing Monthly. And I am excited as we are digging into the biggest challenge that recruiters and staffing agencies are facing right now, and that is how to get more candidates. And as you know, I have scoured the entire globe to find experts out there that are doing things differently and solving this exact problem of how to get more and better candidates. And today we're actually taking a deep dive and we're swimming with the sharks. Not just any shark, though, the staffing shark. I'm sure that you've heard of this guy. He is everywhere. And the reason he's everywhere is because he's figured something out. He has figured out a way to connect with candidates in this day and age that no one else has seemed to put together yet. And what he's doing that's different, I want to bring to you. So, man, Shark, I am glad to have you on the episode today. Thank you for being here.
Hey, brother Dan. Thank you, my man. I'm excited, man.
So, you're all over the place, man. Every time I look at an ASA thing, an ABD, and everywhere you're at, man, like you're speaking all of these places. And when we actually connected at the Aviante Connect conference, I'm like, how are you everywhere? And you were like, I figured this thing out. Like I found out how to drive more candidates. And I was like, well, we got to tell the world that, man, this community needs this. So here's the big question of the month, man. How do recruiters and staffing agencies get more and better candidates right now? What are you doing to do that?
Dan, here's what it's all about, buddy. At the end of the day, we have to have an experience. These candidates want an experience. So when they walk into my office, I'm in flip-flops. I got popcorn machine, Pac-Man machine. They want us to just have fun with them. And I think that's the biggest thing is, we are not a recruiter, Dan. I'm a job agent, man. I represent them. So when you say keywords like that and you bring music and fun, no more cubicles anymore, guys. No more cubicles and black and white resumes. We want to sit down and chat with them. A coffee chat, beer chat. That's the experience off the bat. And when they see that, they're like, wow, I have never experienced this before.
Man, so that actually makes sense to me because everyone knows that recruiter is a kind of a sterile corporate term, and it represents the company, the employer, right? The man in a sense, right? And we also know that there's always stress and anxiety when it comes to looking for a job and job hunting. So you're kind of just flipping that on its head and saying, no, I represent the people and I'm going to do it in a way, I'm going to meet them where they're at and have fun with it and make this process that's ordinarily tiring and no one likes it, going to make it fun. And you think that's why people are kind of paying attention to you now.
Exactly. Plus, I listen to them. You know what? I just don't go in and say, hey, we have this job for you. What do you want? I want to get to know them. It's that conversation piece. We can have more than 5 minutes of a conversation with a person. I think at the end of the day, when you do that, the referrals come, Dan, all the time. I always say, don't chase the candidates. Let the candidates chase you. And that's so true. I mean, we have to have that staffing swag these days. And I just love it because when they come in, you dress comfortable. You come in, just come in with jeans on and a t-shirt. Let's just talk. Because I'm going to represent you for the next level.
So there's a couple things actually 3 things I want to dig into here. I want to talk about the environment that you said you set up. So I'm going to get to you next, but you said referrals, which I want to dig into first. And then the jeans and a t-shirt thing. I just want to make a comment on. When I first got into this industry, some of the people ahead of me always said, whatever you wear what the person that you're going to be in front of is going to be wearing. So if you're going to go to, a distribution center, don't wear your suit and tie. If you're going to a bank, don't wear your jeans and a polo. So that sort of makes sense that, you're kind of dressing to match the candidates there. So I get that. But you said referrals. So this is always one of the tougher ones. And there's another article right in this magazine. We're going to dig into some best practice, but referrals has always been like this tougher one to get our arms around. So how do you do referrals? Are you you paying people, incentivizing? How are you really leveraging referrals right now to drive additional people in your office?
I never pay anybody, Dan. So here's what it's all about is I get a picture with them. A handshake, shark shake. When they get hired, guess what? They share that on all their social media with my tagline, with my logo. My logo changes it all the time. That's a big thing I tell everybody. Change it with the seasons, the colors, if it's St. Patty's Day, if it's Christmas, change your logo. Relate to that holiday. Relate to the people. But get back to the referrals. It's all about, the handshake. And they share it. Guess what? All of their friends want a job on social media, Facebook, TikTok and all. They call me up out of the blue. Boom, 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 like this. Hey, Joe or Sarah got a job. Now I want one too. Because don't we all want to be loved? If somebody gets a job, somebody else wants to join them, right?
That's true. That's true. So just to be clear, you're not you're not actually paying, like you don't have a monetized referral program that you're using. You're just truly leveraging social proof and social media where everyone is. I mean, honestly, that's exactly how social media grows is through social proof. If they see other people doing things, then more people jump on. So you're just kind of doing what the social media companies figured out years ago to grow networks, and you're just doing the same thing.
Exactly. All my candidates actually share all my information. So they're actually my recruiters too. So before you know it, you have 100 people going out to work, you have 100 recruiters sourcing for you.
So that's brand leverage, man. That's solid. But let me ask this question though, man, because you said flip-flops, jeans, t-shirt, like I feel like there's a certain sector of the staffing industry that doesn't place those types of candidates. They're placing those people that are walking in suits. They're placing the more professional placements, the accountants, the CEOs and that kind of stuff. So can this work there, or is this like have you found this thing like, hey, this is for your LI or your rank and file clerical? You're just kind of I guess is there a special employee segment that this might work for?
No, because at the end of the day, like even engineering IT, when I worked for that, it's been relaxed. When you come in and you're comfortable, you relax because the first conversation is just to get to know them, what they want. And that's where the deep diving comes in. And that's where you build that relationship, Dan, right off the bat. When you build that comfortable relationship, then when they go to their interview, naturally they're going to dress professional. We'll tell them what we need to do. But right off the bat in the beginning, it's just like we're sitting at a bar or a coffee shop. Let's just chat. What do you want? And it works all the time.
It makes a ton of sense just to get people comfortable like that. So, but you said bar, coffee shop, man. So I want to push back on that one. So you transform the environment of the office. No more cubicles, all that stuff. So how do you do that? Like, let's like really take a deep dive into that one. Like, what does that transformation look like? So I want to see if it can. I want to see how others can do the same thing if it's possible.
Exactly. And we're going to hear it in West Virginia with Mountain Employment Solutions. So you walk in, open air, boom, music blasting right off the bat. I mean, we're talking like not real loud, but still, Kenny Chesney could be Pitbull, anything like that. So you got energy because, okay, everybody out there, just think when you go to Walmart, why do they play music, Dan? They don't play music just for us to sing. They play music so we get excited, so we buy more. So when
Yeah.
the customer experience here, it's the same thing. Am I
Yeah.
right? I mean,
You were right, man. I've got a story about this, man. You're not gonna believe this. Dude, it was like Christmas shopping season last year, and I was in Target with my family, and there
mhm.
was no music. Every store you went in the entire world is playing the same Christmas track, right? We go into Target, there's no music, and we're like, what? It felt so weird. I don't want to be in there. Like, and I even asked an associate, I'm like, hey, isn't there normally music playing in Target? Like, we were discussing it, like, isn't there? And they're like, yeah, and they're like, our audio system is broken. It's down right now. We can't play
Oh,
music. Dude, we laughed. Like it just felt uncomfortable. Like, it was weird. It was like, I don't know. So you're right. There is something, and that's also again psychologically, that's what casinos do with all the sounds, right? All those sounds kind of make you just want to
same
stay there.
format. And then when they walk in the door, you greet them. You get up out of your seat, you roll up and give them a handshake and say, "Come on in, let's do it." And then we have the Pac-Man machine. We have popcorn. So when they leave, they get a bag of popcorn. Them and their kids. So it's that experience that I'm putting together with them. That you know what, we're doing this together, and that's the whole thing. I'm the coach, you're the player, and when you think that way, they're into it. I mean, 9 out of 10 times they're going to follow you all the way and believe in you.
It's so I've got so many directions I want to go with this because I want to believe, but it's been done one way so long. I'm a bit of a healthy skeptic here, but I see that you're tying all these little things into other areas of our lives that we love, like music or popcorn. Like people are always like, oh, popcorn, that sounds gimmicky, man. But there's so many places that I go to that they just have popcorn, and it is like and like movie theaters make just as much money off selling popcorn as they do off tickets, right?
Exactly.
So clearly that's something that people resonate with. So having that there, I think, can maybe bring in the sense of comfort of even going to a movie theater and, like you said, getting entertained. So I like that you're weaving that in. But here's my big question, man, because you said your phone's ringing off the hook and you're the staffing shark, and that's great, but dude, there's no school around you, man. It's just you. Like how like it's got to have a limit. Like you're only one person. You can only do so much. You can only shake so many hands. So like how can you really ramp up a candidate pipeline around one person's brand? Like how does that work?
Just what I do is, Dan, I set that culture. So my platform, what I do every day, I teach them the same way. So they don't have to be high energy like me all the time, but they can have the same surroundings with the music, nice climate control, air conditioner rolling, nice and cool when you roll in. I mean, you know, you need to have it. Windows. I tell everybody, I mean, we're going to virtual offices now. So, but your main core office, it's got to be fun. It's got to be energetic. And your recruiters, yeah, I'm going to tell you straight up, when they get on the phone, it should be like you're on a concert every time you make a phone call, you got to have high energy. And I tell the recruiters that. So a big thing for me is to go to these other staffing firms and teach them the right way. We're in a different world now. It's not getting on a headset and calling 100 people a day. That doesn't work anymore. It doesn't. You're wasting time.
So, all right. So the healthy skeptic in me is coming on a little bit here. So, I'm gonna push back on this one. So, you tell people they got to be high energy, you got to do this. But what if that's not who they are as a person? Like a lot of recruiters, aren't those level 10 energy extroverts. Some of them are a little bit more HR centric, and I'm not trying to overly generalize, but if do the personality assessments, they're a little bit more methodic or reserved in their emotions. So how do you mix that? Like, how do you keep an authentic, because you don't want someone to fake it, right? Because fake doesn't work either. So like, how do you blend that piece of it if you've got a recruiter where high energy just isn't their thing?
Well, even if it's not high energy, just be you, be different. So I always tell them, be you. So if whatever level you can put yourself on in 10, if it's like a 5 for me, that's fine for me. I think just being genuine, and when you get on the phone, just ask questions, but listen. That's the biggest thing I tell everybody, Dan. The secret is listen. Don't get off on the bat and say, hey, I got 5 jobs for you. Which one do you want? Just listen to them. They're going to tell you everything about them.
So I want to dig in on this one right now because you just hit something that is huge. And one of the things that happened during the pandemic is people started to scramble and people got socially distanced, right? And we went to Zoom meetings and Zoom interviews and virtual offices and we got disconnected. And while we craved that human interaction, we sort of forgot how to do it a little bit. And I think we started to all get into like production recruiting mode. And when you're in production recruiting mode, you're telling, you're not listening. You're saying, hey, this is the job, blah, 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 blah. Do you want it or not? Right. And then when there's a candidate shortage, that only expounds that issue. And if you're not listening to the person, two things are going to happen. There's nothing good that can come out of it if you're not listening to your candidate. Either A, they're going to sense it and they're going to eject from the process, and you're not going to have that candidate, whether they were good or not. You'll never know. Or they'll take your job, but they will feel like they didn't connect with you, and they'll eject with your job, eject from your job post placement, which doesn't look good for anybody. And so you hit it right on the head. So let's talk about that. When you coach recruiters in agencies, how do you teach them to take a step back and be a little bit more methodic and just listen? Like, are there any techniques that you can use to kind of help them break that production, push people through a funnel mindset?
I think one of the big things is numbers. When they say you have to make a million phone calls again or stuff like that, I say, you know what, every phone call is important. And if that person's not ready for that job right now, tell them, hey, they're getting maybe supplemental money from the government. That's okay. When you're done, you let me know. Call me up. And I think that's it. Every opportunity on a phone call is a great opportunity. It is, seriously. And people sometimes I think like if somebody hangs up on them, maybe they got disconnected. Call them back and see what happened. And I think our voices, we can't yell at people. We can't put them down. We have to praise everybody. The little things they do, if they did some bad things, you praise the little things. It's like coaching football, Dan. It's the same thing. You don't beat people down. I mean, we don't do that for anybody else. So why wouldn't we do that with our candidates? Because without our candidates, guys, we don't have a staffing firm or a recruiting firm.
That's
They're
true.
our front line. We have to realize that and tell them that
Yeah.
too.
We're not here for them. We're here because of them. And
Exactly
that's a
right.
huge thing. And man, you just reminded me of a story way back 100 years ago, working a desk and had this amazing employee that I would schedule at a kind of a food services place. And I would put them on the schedule. And how this client worked at the time is you could start putting people on the schedule. You can basically work them a day, 2 days a week, and they would try them out. And if they like them, then they would open up more shifts to them. Eventually, they would work them up to be full time, and these people could work there full time for as long as they really wanted if they were producing, right? And it was a black and whites type place, so it wasn't just a kind of a fast food casual. Like it had to be presented. There was some VIP type audience there. So I had this one gentleman. It was amazing. We tried him out. We put him on there, and he was doing amazing. And I was talking to the client. They're like, "Oh, this guy's great. Give him more shifts. Give him more shifts." And then we we scaled him up to full time. And about 2, 3 weeks in, the client calls and they're like, hey, this guy is just not, he's just not doing it anymore. And we're like, I'm like, that's so weird. He's been amazing
Yeah.
for a year. Like what's changed all of a sudden? And the client and I are having this side conversation about what to do with this guy. And my rookie mistake, I never talked to the guy to ask, hey, what's going on? Right. So finally, when it was too late and I actually had to end the assignment and remove him from it, I went and was like, hey, I got some bad news. But I was like, what happened to you, man? Like you were like of all the people on my roster, like you were the lock. Like what
Mhm.
happened? And he was like, man, he's like, I get some government subsidy. He was in one of the programs and he was like, I can't work more than 32 hours a week. They'll let me work up to 32 hours, but as soon as I go past that, I lose that subsidy. And there's no 8 hours that you can pay me that's worth that much. And he goes, and I need 32 hours of work and I need the subsidy to lift myself out of poverty. He's like, your 40-hour a week job isn't helping me support my family and I can't do it alone in the sub. He's like, I needed both, but as soon as you put me, he goes, that's why I called off one day every week. And I was just like, had I had known that, had I just talked to him and found that out and listened, I could have just went to the client and said, hey, this guy's going to be amazing for you 4 days a week. And that's all we can do. But 4 days of amazing for this guy is better. Yeah. And so listening it reminded me of that story and that will always stick with me because this guy was amazing. And I feel like I did him a disservice by not actually listening. So thank you for sharing that.
We have to put them in our shoes. We don't know what's going on in their day, especially light industrial. Some people don't even have a car. I mean, we have to really consider that. We're like a social worker, counselor, all in one. And one thing else I got to throw out there, they call me every week. They check in with me once a week. All my peeps. I call my peeps. They're my family, you know. So, hey, anything you have, you need a day off, or you're going through some trouble at home, let me know instead of just not blowing the whole assignment off. And I think that's the biggest thing. We have to have follow up, you know, and they'll be with you forever if you do that stuff.
It's true, man. They really will. If they feel connected with, they will. I've seen that wholeheartedly, and I think again, it's the human connection. We all crave it, and I think coming out of the pandemic, when we're still trying to figure out how to be human with each other again, I think the agencies that nail that are going to build bigger audiences, and they'll have better referrals, and that will drive more candidates, and they won't have to be as reliant on job boards or all these other mechanisms that just sell slots, and they make more money the more we post. It's like so I think that's a huge thing. But I want to come back to it's just you, right? I know that you do that for the office, and if you're sitting for one of your clients and you're working in their office and you're transforming their business, that you can help that office because you're there. But like, what happens to you when you're gone, or what happens at office when you're gone, or how is if there's an agency watching this right now and they're like, man, the staffing shark, that's really cool. Like, they can't start calling themselves the staffing shark and emulate it. So like, what do they do? How does some other agency kind of put lightning in a bottle for themselves like you've done?
I think it's you just take some of my ingredients and you run with it with yourself, you know, and your staff. And one thing when I work with companies, actually, you know, they brainstorm with the shark. Once a month, we do a follow up. You know, we just try to tweak things. I think we're in this day and age, Dan, where it's all about a tagline. I'm not gonna lie. I've been a Savvy Shark for 2.5 years now, and it's blowing up. You know, we have a friend I'm working with now. She's the redhead recruiter. You know, so get yourself a tag name that I mean, and she's loving it. She's like, you won't believe how many people are responding to me now, and they're just calling me the redhead recruiter. I don't care about my real name. And I think that's what makes us different. We have to not follow each other and do different things. I mean, that's even with the marketing, Dan. I mean, we can deep dive into that. I never put now hiring on anything. Come on, guys. Everybody does that, right?
It's everywhere, man. It's drowning out now. Now hiring is not effective. It is.
Oh, it's horrible.
And if you're watching this and you're oblivious to this, literally go drive anywhere today and count how many now hiring signs that you see. Everyone's hiring. Like
Yep.
it should just be
And
assumed at this point.
you're totally right. And I always tell everybody, I do the Netflix theory. I say, everybody watches Netflix. They watch what? A trailer? Why can't our job postings and our videos be like a trailer? A teaser to get them in a door, high energy, music. I mean, I'm creating stuff like that now that nobody in our industry is doing. And it's fun. I mean, and you hear some of my stuff, it's like bombs are blowing up and then the Staffing Shark logo comes out. People's like, wow. I mean, when they're at the airport, they're scrolling. They're like, who's this person?
Dude, dude, that would be so fun. Like, can you imagine like a job board? Like job boards in general are just they're miserable. Like you
Oh,
look at them
blah.
and they just suck the joy right out of you. And it's not any one job board. That's like you're just reading through these lists of things and it's just like, and But can you imagine if literally a job board was legit like Netflix and like you were scrolling through and it's like there's just a trailer and you can just click on a video and there was some subtext and if people wanted to read too, right? Like the description of it on Netflix,
Mhm.
but if they could just watch a little trailer about the job, like and you actually I know that would take a lot of effort, but if there's an agency out there that says, "Hey, we're going to put a little production studio in our office. You know, we're going to have it set up so we can actually do these fun little jobs and maybe work with a creative marketing company or use Fiverr, whatever, to like if you figured out how to make your job board look like that, I guarantee you would get way more eyeballs on it. That would be so fun to use the trailer concept for our job ads.
You're reading my mind because I'm working on it right now, some people. So here we go. Just another
Yo,
project.
man, here's the deal. So then I'm gonna throw the challenge out there. When it's done and you've got that prototype, you're gonna come back on Staffing Monthly and we're gonna put this out there and show people, hey, this is how it's done.
You got it, man. Anytime.
So I got to say two last things I want to share, and then I'll let you get back to it. But you mentioned the Red Hat thing, man. I actually, a long time ago, again, 100 years ago, when I worked directly in an agency, I'd been there and I thought that I was established. Like I thought that kind of people knew me in the community and the whole nine. We hired this guy and he had bright red hair and he was fairly junior in the company
Mhm.
and he was in a sales facing capacity. He was actually in a kind of the client success team, is what he did. So his job wasn't to go sell clients. It was really to go out and make sure that the relationships were being properly tended, making sure that there was no issues, all that kind of stuff, and essentially represent the client to us was kind of his liaison role. And everyone would basically call and they're like, yeah, the redheaded guy, the redheaded guy. And it's like, and I realized I'm like, wow, like it doesn't matter that like they would think about him and his red hair characteristic over me and the goodwill that I'd put out into the community. So I think that you're on it. So my last question around that point is let's just say there's just an average, average Joe, average Jane recruiter, like what can they do? I know you said red hatted recruiter. Give me one more example that they can do to kind of create that personal brand, and then how do they elevate that?
Well, you know what? They just have to be themselves. I think if they have like maybe that librarian feel, be that person. Call yourself some kind of tagline that way. So you don't have to be this high energy, different. You can just be yourself, but make yourself a little bit different in some kind of way. I mean, if it's maybe if you wear like white shirts all the time or something like that, have yourself like a Steve Jobs. He wore black shirts all the time. It's like make yourself a little bit different, but it don't have to be with a tagline. It could be with your clothing or anything.
Got it. Got it. And then that's really, but I think you need to use that as a tagline. I think you basically need
Oh
to
yeah.
put that out there because that's what people are going to remember because marketing has just shaped our brain that way. So I think that makes a ton of sense. So I'm just going to recap this just to make sure I hit the point. So if anyone's looking for the cliff notes on this, so really what you're doing that's reshaping the candidate experience is you're focusing on the candidate to create the experience, and that starts with how do you actually greet them? How do you interact with them? How are you dressed? How do you kind of meet them where they're at in a way that's going to be more comfortable to them. And then you invite them into an office that you've essentially reshaped to be more coffee shop type, feel, vibe,
Mhm.
music, popcorn, something where they're going to feel more comfortable than where they would typically go into a cubicle setting and fill out a lot of paperwork or an online application or anything like that that's typically more not as enjoyable. And then you make the post experience positive where you're like, hey, thanks for coming in, and you get that positive reinforcement. You lift them up, you give them the shake. The shark shake. I want to make sure that's trademarked the right way for you. They're posting it and you're having them spread it out on social media to get that network effect to bring those more eyeballs back to that moment to drive people back into your office. And that's really how you flip this entire model on its head, and it's just driving more candidates. Did I got it all right?
You got it right, man. Like I always say at the end of the day, man, intelligence equals change. We all got to change in this industry. So let's do it today.
Right on, man. Right on. Listen, I appreciate you being here with us today. I appreciate you sharing kind of what you're doing. It's very contrarian in the industry. I think it's disruptive, and I think the candidates and the job seekers that have sort of leverage right now probably appreciate that. So if there's people out there that want to connect with you or learn more about what you're doing, how do they do that? How do they connect with the Shark?
Shark all over all social media platforms. Easy. My name's Richard Rosner, but Staffing Shark. Check it out. Twitter, TikTok, you name it, I'm there. So
Awesome, man. I'll get all these links on the episode. Great to have you here, man. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
hey, thank you so much, brother. Talk to you soon, man. Take care.